Hey everybody, Mike Miller with the Herald Times, Jeremy Price, columnist. What is today? November
Today
30th?
is the last day of November.
End of November, yeah. December's right around the corner, as is that long-awaited matchup against Duke. But first, we had to watch Alcorn State.
I think you put it correctly right there. We had to.
About half of this place was full. I hesitate to even use the word full. Smallest crowd I've seen in my 2 years doing this.
Yeah, I think 10,000-ish is probably a fair estimate.
About what we expected, honestly, for quite possibly what is probably the worst team on Indiana's schedule this year.
Arguably one of the worst teams in Division I basketball.
That's true, too. You know, it might be just a little too soon to put a lot into the KenPom numbers just at this point right here, but for what it's worth, they're the fourth lowest ranked team in the KenPom rankings. Not hard to see why. Not a lot of D1 skill, not a great team, Alcorn State, but basically, obviously, I think this game is pretty obvious.
But they had great warm-ups that said organized chaos.
Organized chaos, and I'm just like, I saw that, and I'm like, you tweeted it, I was thinking the same thing. Alcorn State, no, you don't say that. It's like that could be so easily turned around on you as such a terrible team. You are chaos. You were terrible. They scored 70 points against Indiana, 112-70 win for IU. I don't really know what you take away from this game. I mean, James Blackman scored a career-high 33 points. Great. Again, it's Alcorn State. I kind of wrote about it because it's a career-high 33 points. I think the larger issue here is that, well, first of all, the reason for this game, it's a chance to kind of get back, test your legs, get out there, get back on the court, kind of work on some things after the Maui trip, after shaking off the jet lag. And, again, it's to kind of tune up before Duke. They got all of that, but
yeah,
everything else, I mean, you might as well just throw this whole stat book away. It doesn't mean a whole lot. I mean,
no.
You put in that game against Alcorn State, you move on, and just glad no one got hurt.
Yeah, this is one of those games that, kind of what I wrote about was the good part of this was just simply a chance for everybody to sort of feel good about themselves again and sort of, get the warm fuzzies out against an inferior opponent. Everybody gets to score. The offense is back on a roll. The defense, even though it wasn't really anything right home about, to be honest, it was at least better than what it was in Maui, which of course it was because they were playing a terrible team. But even at that, it wasn't so great.
I got some real issues with the defense tonight, and again, 34 points were the most Alcorn State scored in the first half. I mean, good Lord, if this is one of the worst teams in Division I, how many times were these guys just blowing by guys and scoring in the paint? What do they have in the paint? 38 points in the paint. The dribble penetration is, once again, still an issue. And to let it become an issue once again against Alcorn State.
And on top of that, the Alcorn State had 12 offensive rebounds in the first half.
Yeah.
Only, I think, two or three, something in the second half.
They were out rebounding IU on point. A large portion of those were on the offensive glass. Yeah.
Yeah. So only 3 offensive rebounds in the second half. So from that standpoint, second half was better. But again, I mean, to me, sort of the threshold for points in the paint is probably 40. Mm-hmm. When you're hitting 40 and above, it's too much. And the fact that Alcorn State got to 38, well, that's pretty close to 40.
That's still too much for me,
That's
I think.
too much, yeah.
When you're Alcorn State, that's too much. But like you said, I think there is merit in bringing up, again, the 33 points from James Blackman, and really the night from James Blackman. This is kind of something, it kind of became something tangible he can kind of build off now. He can kind of see the 4 steals. He can kind of see what it looks like to turn that part of his game into offense at the other end. Look, I mean, it's Alcorn State. It's nothing, again, to write home about. But from the lens of, okay, you're doing good things, build off of this. I think that it could be kind of valuable in that way for a guy like James Blackman and for others too. For even for Troy Williams, who gets his 8 rebounds or whatever after the Maui fiasco. I think when you kind of look at it through that lens, all right, maybe there I can see a takeaway from that angle.
It could be. I'm not real crazy about it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen James Blackman do this. I guess that's the whole thing with all of this is we've seen James Blackman do this before, or if it was Yogi Ferrell, we've seen Yogi Ferrell do this before. Mm-hmm. Whatever. I mean, we've seen guys go off and have great games and do things other than just the scoring. I'm not talking about scoring necessarily, but whether it's rebounds, assists, steals, play better defense, what deflections, whatever that magical entity is made up of. But do it do it, one, consistently, and two, against big-time opponents in a big-time game. And that's really what we're looking for from this team. I mean, to me, great that James Blackman had a big night. I mean, I think it was good for him, clearly, coming off the Maui trip. But I think if we're more positive for me is just, like Colin Hartman knocked down a couple of threes, something that he's been struggling a little bit with this year. I think that was big just from a confidence standpoint for him to see a couple shots go down. I thought, Robert Johnson, once again, he's probably been the most consistent player on this team this season. Started tonight. Had some steals, some assists, made the shots when they were open. I mean, he's just been really sound, I think. If there was one guy I was going to pick out that there's not a lot to criticize, and certainly he has some work to do on the defensive end, but compared to everybody else, I think he's probably ahead in that department too. So I think those are the biggest positives from the night. I mean, the other side of it is, OG Anunoby, this would be a game you would think we sort of maybe a chance to get him going a little bit, was really not much of a factor.
Played 17 minutes, only basically out of necessity without Juwan Morgan in the mix now for a couple weeks at least with his foot ankle deal. But
and I think because of that, we're going to see more of the three-guard thing. I'm not surprised from that standpoint to see how you go with the three-guard lineup to start. I think with Morgan out, that hurts the front court depth, and so they may well start out with Troy Williams at the 4. Colin Hartman's going to see more times at the 4, and Bielefeld will almost be the backup center as such for now. And that may be the ticket going forward this season as well. We'll see how it goes. But.
Yeah, that's enough about Alcorn State. We just move on. Luckily, there's another game 2 days from now. Duke, the one we've been pointing to since May, really outside of, I guess, the what is it tomorrow? UNC Maryland. I guess this was supposed to be at least one of the marquee matchups of this whole deal. The 9:15 tip in Durham. IU's played Duke in the recent past. What was it, 2006? I guess. So I guess it's not that recent. But this is Tom Crean and the IU team's first trip to Duke since, I guess, that 2006 game. But I don't know. Expectations now going into this somewhat lowered for this IU team. I don't know what tonight really does to raise or lower them much more than what they already were coming out of Maui. But again, I still have some serious concerns. First, I think it could be a track meet going in there. Beyond that, I'm not sure that we saw any. Well, I just can't get over this Alcorn State game. But I still don't have a much greater gauge or understanding where this team could be defensively going into this game against that Duke team. So
I think it's fair to say at this point. I mean, IU defensively, we know they're not a good defensive team, and they're not going to be a particularly good defensive team at this point. I mean, really, the two things: the offensive rebounds they're giving up and the turnovers they're committing are almost bigger than the defense at this point, because those are the things that are limiting them from being able to just outscore teams, really. I mean, you look at a night like tonight, I mean, they were shooting, well, what they wind up shooting, 67%. I mean, and they had 12 turnovers. I mean, that's not terrible, but probably a little much against an Alcorn State, to be honest with you. But you cut those down by 3, give yourself 3 extra possessions. The way you're shooting it, you're going to score on 2 of those 3 extra possessions. So I think that's as big a thing as anything. I mean, I know the defense is flawed. There's no doubt about that. And could it stand to get better? Yes, but I'm not sure it is. So what this team has to do is find a way to play to its strengths, and playing to its strengths involves not turning the ball over and not giving up offensive rebounds on the occasions you do get a stop. So that's sort of where that's at. Good luck with that against Duke. They're going to test that. They've got more depth, more size on the front line, plenty of guys to attack the basket. But like you said, I think if IU's best chance is to turn that into a track meet, and they're going to need to have one of those good shooting nights, no doubt.
I keep going back to this box score because it's right in front of me. Anything else we need to mention tonight? I'm looking at this and don't want to overlook anything here.
Tim Priller still didn't play till there were less than 2 minutes left in the game.
But he got
the way this game started, I thought we might see a 5 to 10 minute Priller outing tonight.
I was hoping for a running clock, everything. Yeah. Someone actually asked me if IU had played better in Maui, if this would have been better attendance tonight. I still...
only moderately.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure the 2012-13 team could have...
It just would have been happier campers.
Yeah.
I mean,
some first time this year we've heard audible boos for Tom Crean before the game. That was the thing tonight.
Some boos in the middle of the game there.
And Alcorn State cut it to a single-digit lead.
Yeah, They got it down from 17 down to 9.
Definitely, yeah.
Little 11-3 run there.
18 to 9.
Yeah, and so it was the natives got a bit restless, and understandably so, because again it was the rebounding and the defense and some dumb turnovers that were right in the middle of all that, and I think everybody saw enough to last that for the season last week.
Yeah. All right, 10 minutes on Alcorn State. That's longer than anyone should ever talk about that. We'll be back Wednesday in Durham. Late tip. That's going to be a hectic game, but we'll see what happens. I got nothing else from this one.
Works for me.
All right, see you guys.